Hey, what's up, guys? This is Team Hard Life Captain Albert Zertuche here, and right here I have the mold set up for the 1 ounce pyramid, 2 ounce pyramid, 3 ounce pyramid, and the 4 ounce pyramid all at the same time. And basically, I'm doing it like this because I wanted to show my guys that it can be done, that you can work more than just 1 or 2 or 5 molds at a time. You just got to have your area organized for it and be set up ready to put the eyelets in there and so forth. So right here, you're getting to see me start the mold of inserting the brass eyelets in. And I've gotten a couple of rounds here, and I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and get this set up for my guys on the channel to see how I used to pour so many molds at one time. So now I'm doing it right here, and I'm gonna let this one run by itself, of showing you how long it takes me to set this up.
Gotta bite, gotta bite. I think I got a lot of stress on my mind. It's a nice day to go. Yeah, I gotta learn. I'ma call the whole team.
This part is one of the ones that really does get the guys, is because as we're putting them in there and we start pouring these molds, they will start to get hot. So if you don't know how to set the wires in there with speed and efficiency, you start to burn your fingertips, and then they want to wear gloves. Well, at the same time, it's learning how to get them in there properly. And some of these molds do wear out to where you have to create other ways to make the clip stick. And so for me, what I would do is I would split the wire frame on those brass eyelets to make them encompass or get locked in those eyelet frames, so that way they could stay without falling into the mold. Because that's the other thing, guys. You know, if those eyelets fall in there and you pour lead over it, well, then you throw away that brass eyelet, because melting it down and then trying to find the brass eyelet to reuse it makes it really difficult, because then they're all nasty and burnt and stuff like that. So for me, that I'm supplying tackle shops with our weights and stuff like that, I don't want to send weights that look like that, because then, you know, customers do get upset thinking that it's a used weight or something like that. And it's not. It's just a brand new eyelet that got burnt, you know, from melting down the lead around it and stuff. So here we go. I'm going to continue doing this, and then we'll get it poured out. All right, now that I got them all closed, it's time to start pouring. And there you are, my trusty ladle right there. It holds about 2.5 pounds of lead in that deal. So every time I grab it to pour it, you can imagine that I'm setting it up. And it doesn't seem like a lot at 2.5 pounds, but when you're having to grip it to make sure you don't lose any kind of slippage on it, you're and that ladle curve is curved, so you're basically gripping the edges to make sure it don't slip out of your hand. And so actually, you know what, I ought to weigh that thing. It might be more than 2.5 pounds. I've actually never sat there and weighed it out. But right there, I've poured 3 or 4 molds of the 4 ounces, and now I'm doing the 1 ounces right here. And you can see the speed at which the cavities do fill up, and I can go from one to the next to the next. And so by doing that, it allows me to move at a greater speed, because I used to pour these molds with the little smelting machine, but at the same time, it was designed for do-it molds only, not to encompass other companies' molds. So when I started doing that, I was like, dang, man, I couldn't even use it. And then too, at the speed at which it would allow the lead to come out was really slow in comparison to what I can do with this thing. And so now, as you can see, I can move from mold to mold to mold by doing that. And on that last one, I wasn't going to fill up the cavity. So what I did real quick was I pulled the mold away to lean over and get to my big pot. And I grabbed a little bit of lead. I didn't grab the full ladle like I should have, because now it's catching up with me. I only did 2 or 3 molds on it before it was empty. Yeah, that's not the way I like to work. I like to work with a full ladle, so that way I can pour out multiple molds, and that in turn saves me time. See, look at all that lead that's in there. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, let's fill up them molds, making them lead weights, so y'all can go fishing. What? All right, here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm using super long screwdrivers to crack open the molds, because once we pour them the way we pour them, we have a bit of trouble getting them open. So instead of me trying to force it all by hand, I have discovered that if I pry them open in this fashion, it allows me to move a little quicker in opening them and going to the next step, which is getting the weights out and so forth. So this really does help on many levels. And then I'll get into a routine of doing this and start pulling all the weights. I've got separate bins and containers for all of them, so that way I can get them into where they need to go. Another reason I'm doing this video is a training video to show my guys that working these molds, keeping your area clean and everything else will allow you to be a lot more efficient at pouring a lot of weight and getting it through there. Also, by doing that, it ensures that you can produce the amount of product that is necessary to keep your job. That's one of the things a lot of these guys don't understand is, they thought at the time we had big old deep pockets because we own a shop. That's not the way it runs, guys. For us, we would work literally from sale to sale on that kind of deal. And yes, there was times we made huge sales. So what it did was reinvested that into making the shop run more efficiently. So that way, like deals right here. When I first started my business at pouring these weights, I had one mold of each size that I needed to produce everything that I needed to produce. Now I've got like 9 molds of the 2-ounce pyramids. I've got 5 or 6 molds of the 1-ounce pyramids. I had like 5 of the 4-ounce pyramids, but they got dropped and broke. So I would lose molds as the time went on. And then same thing with 3-ounce molds and stuff. But originally, like I said, I only had 1. Now I got all of these, and a few days after this day here, if you go back through the timeline, you can see that I received a whole bunch of molds a few days after I poured all of this, which if I would have had them at this time, I would have had that many more molds to play with, because I needed this weight order to be filled as quickly as possible. Like I said, 150 pounds of 1s, 2s, 3s, 4-ounce pyramids were needed for this order. And so, there was pouring a lot of weights. But at the time, too, I was also having a bit of trouble of getting the 2-ounce or the size 2 brass eyelets to make these molds. Or to make these weights, to fill the molds with these brass eyelets to make the weights. So here we go. I'm going to go and keep it rocking, but it also too, I have another video from this day when I was pouring the surf weights in the morning, making and burning down lead, and also doing this in the afternoon. I wanted to show my guys, like I said, there is a proper way to make a lot of weights in a short period of time. A lot of times they're working themselves too hard for the amount of product they're putting out there. Told them, if y'all have questions, y'all need to ask me. I can't automatically understand what's troubling you, what's not troubling you, after I show you how to work things. So I have also started using these as training videos to show them that, yes, when I say, I look at their work and the amount of product they do produce in that time period, I know it because I've done it and done it and done it and done it and done it too many times to sit there and say, okay, they're struggling with something, what's going on? And it's tough because, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking, but I feel they think that if they're showing me that they're too slow or whatever, that, they're going to get fired, when it's the opposite way around. I want them to be free to ask me those questions, free to get to me. Hey, is there a faster way to do this? Like, be honest. I will show them exactly how I do it. And like I said, it's not super crazy fast. It's not super crazy technical, but it is me showing them being committed to the job at hand and just staying focused with it. A lot of the problems we did have with prior workers was a lot of them wanted to be having their cell phones right there, watching this, watching that, and that is a big issue. It's not something that I grew up with going through my jobs as a young kid, but now that I'm a lot older and running my own business, it shows that, yes, I have music going, and it sucks that I don't know what's up on my phone, but normally when I used to put Pandora on, I could just push play, and even if the screen turned off, it would stay playing. So I had music going. And the only reason I keep walking to it to touch it is because as long as I touch it every, 3 to 8 minutes, it won't shut off on me. Sorry, I'm not all computer savvy or phone savvy with all the, I don't even know how it did that. Like from one day it was doing fine, the next day it's not. And I will get it sorted out. So by the time this video actually gets viewed, like I said, I will have learned why my phone is doing that to me. But also too, like I said, I stay constant with what I got going. And at the same time, I'm also waiting for that call from my grandbaby to be born. I was going that day. Like, I was totally focused on trying to get as much done as quickly as I could. That way, when I got the phone call, I could shut it down and know that I produced a good amount of work while I was there. So that way it would help us reach our goal of putting out the orders that we needed for our stores. Here's the other thing. It's toward the end of the season. A lot of the fishermen have turned to hunters. But at the same time, this is also the season when what we call snowbirds come in. They're all the winter Texans kind of deal. Everybody from other states that are far up north that get really, really cold up there, what they do is they start coming down to Texas and enjoy the winters down here, basically on vacation the whole time, or maybe working, from wherever they're staying at down here. So now they're coming in and they're reloading on their fishing gear and stuff like that. So we have to stay on top of being able to put out the product. And right here, like I said, guys, the only reason I even have the phone running the way I have it running is because it's messing up on me. But even then, too, like I said, I've got a radio that is available to my workers so they can have some music going. Obviously, when I am live on my channel, I do have to have them shut it off. And if y'all been with me at this time and now where I'm at now, y'all know that the copyright issue is something that I've always had to stay on top of because, that's money that could just be thrown away. And I've been hit with those violations before. I don't want to pay those kind of fines again, especially now that I've seen what they can do. They can really drain your bank account really quick. And then if you get too many, then it really starts to mess with your ability to run your channel or keep it up and running. So as you can see too, when I'm pouring these cavities, I'm connecting each cavity to the other one by the top. So that way when I go and pull the weights out, I can basically remove all three weights at the same time which also helps me when I'm going to do a count before pre-breaking them. You know, I can actually count up the amount of racks that I made. Right there, it's 2 ounces per rack. So if I've got that count, then I can do the math and figure out how many racks I have to pour of these weights in these molds to get to the number I'm looking for without actually having to sit there and break them. So for me, like I said, I've got 9 molds of 3 ounce or 3 cavity 2 ounce pyramids. And, you know, at the very beginning, we'll do the math. Say 100 pounds times 16,000 divided by 2. It's 800 surf weights, or 1,600, should I say, in the math error. So it would end up being 800 of the 2 ounce pyramids that I got to create. But since it's in a rack of 3, then I divide that again by 3, and that gives me the number of how many racks I need. But also, too, I divide that by 9, and that tells me how many times of all these sets that I have to produce to be able to make that number. A lot of math goes into what we do, guys, and right there, like I said, when I said I was running numbers all day long, this is pretty much what I mean. It's like, okay, this is just the weights. That doesn't include when I start spooling reels, what size of reel goes with what line and how many yards, and I mean, it's just math all the way around. But I do appreciate it. You know, like I said, without y'all guys, I would have never gotten to where I have gotten. So I'm totally humbled that I'm able to share these videos with y'all, and we'll keep it rocking. Even though I've been waiting all day pouring weights, and you can see the piles of the weights continue to grow on the backside right there. You can also see that the light is starting to disappear. During this time period is when we also had the time change, so now it's starting to get dark, and here in about 6:30 or so it's going to be completely dark out there. And I tell you what, guys, you know, when you're working in the broad daylight like that and you got that going for you, it's pretty awesome. But I do have to say that when it starts to get dark out there, it does play tricks on your mind and your body and stuff like that, because now, you know, usually at this time, this is 9 o'clock, and you're at home, you're all starting to rest and start to shut down. And you know, it's one of the toughest things to do is work on this time period. If you're used to working outside, you know, a lot of those guys, you know how it feels. It's a mental game of drainage right there, and you can see it just by the minute, it's just getting darker and darker. But I'm staying focused because I know I've got to make this happen. You know, and that's that big old pan that y'all remember me breaking on those live videos. That's what it took to fill that pan up with all those 1 ounce weights, 2 ounce pyramids, and all of that. I'm cutting the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s all at the same time on this. And like I said, I'm doing a lot of different things at one time, but it can be done. You just stay focused on the job at hand and make it happen. Now, like I said, I'm making this video way before my time of getting 100,000 subscribers. I'm barely at 20,000 right now. So I'm excited to see what it looks like in the future when I do finally release this video as a throwback. You know, just to show y'all guys, you know, the day that my grandson was supposed to be on the way, what I was doing to make that happen, you know, so I can be there with my grandbaby. Yeah, see my little grandson, my first one. Yes, sir. So excited. So excited. today. Those are 102 ounces, 8 ounces, 3 ounces, 6 ounces. Right there, that whole tray is filled with 6 ounce surf weights. That's the 116 gauge, that's the 3/32 gauge. 2 ounce pyramids, 3 ounce pyramids, 4 ounce banks, 1 ounce pyramids, and 4 ounce pyramids right there. This is everything that I did today. So, all right, guys, I gotta go. I'm about to become a grandpa. Can't wait. I'll let y'all know how it is. Well, y'all already know how it is by the time this video comes out. Later, guys.